In this video, we are going to talk about combinations, right? So the word here is combination. So talking about a combination, what that means here is assuming you get to a restaurant, right? Is that okay? So you're at a restaurant, so you have some choices of selecting your food item, right? So the only thing you can pick here is you can only select three items at a time. So that is the main product, that's the energy giving food and the protein as well as some beverages. Right. So here in the first column here you have a plain rice. So as well as you have a salad and then some beverage. Okay, and then the second part we have a jollof, that's the jollof rice, salad and cream, right? And then the beverage. So finally, if you are someone who normally enjoy those soup, right? So soup right there. Here we have a yam and beans as well as some beverage. So out of all these things, you can only select three, right? So that is the energy giving food as well as some salad and so on and so forth. So how many ways can you select? That's the most important. Someone can go for a plain rice, the salad without a cream here, and then some beverage. Another person can go for a plain rice, salad and cream, as well as a beverage, right? It's okay. Or maybe someone can go for a yam here, and then what, salad and cream, and then what, a beverage. Depending on your choice, right? So if you that happen, that is what we could say what that is the combination, right? But that is even if you are somehow in the fashion industry, maybe let's say you love dressings and other stuffs and so on and so forth. If you pick one top, right? So what I mean by one top here is that if you pick one shirt here, one shirt, and then you pick another down, that can be anything. It can either be a skirt or a try or maybe a short, right? So you pick some food here, maybe some cake, then check whether the combination is okay. So the word that you are using here is how many ways can you select your items, right? So that's what you are going to base here in this video using some pure exams question. Now, the notation for that is that back to the food items. So at the restaurant, so what we are going to do here is that how many items are we are having? One, two, three, four, five, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? So in all we are having 9. So if that happen, how many items are we selecting? We are selecting three. So we can say that 9 combination combination 3. Is that okay? So out of the 9 items here, we are going to select 3. Is that okay? So this is what the idea of a company. We don't care about the arrangement. So the others does not necessarily what matters here. So if you see some variables and so don't be panic. So maybe I can rewrite this thing in the form of let's say n plus 1 combination let's say n minus 1. Is that okay? So if I want to compare this to this, whereby this 9 here is exactly the one at the top here, that should be 8 plus or plus 1, right? And then here should also be what 4 minus 1. Is that okay? Now let's have a look at this pure exams question and see how to go about some of the combination questions in an exam. So here's a beautiful question that says that if you have n plus 1 combination n minus 1 equal to 15. So here what it means is that out of the number that we are selecting here, right? Out of this number, we are going to select this as I just explained what in the first part of this video. That is equal to what? Equal to 15, meaning that we can select 3 different items in what 15 ways. Is that okay? So that is the most important thing. Now, the simple question or the task here is that the show is to find the values of this any, which we don't know yet. Now, the key to overcome this thing is that you must know exactly the meaning of this. Is that okay? And that is what I'm going to explain in just a few seconds. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, like our video, comment down below if you have any issue relating to this. Now, the key word here is that if you say something combination, another item, so what it means is that this is the definition, this is the definition, or this is exactly what it means. So you must pay attention to this, right? So one way of doing that is you have what n plus what plus 1 factorial. So I was playing this item here. This is what we call a factorial, right? So n plus 1. So this n plus 1 here is exactly the amount that the total options available to you, right? So whatever the number may be, so that number here factorial divided by what, n minus 1 factorial, right? So everything here, and then multiply by what, n plus 1, right? So n plus 1 minus what, n minus 1, right? So that is what one thing here. Make sure that you put everything into a bracket, everything what, factorial, right? So everything, everything on the left hand side here is the definitions of this. Now if you don't want this n and something to confuse, you can replace this thing by a number. So in the first case whereby you have 9 options available for us to choose out of 3 items, so that is all, 9 combination 3. So according to this definition here, so that should be what, 9 factorial, right? So 9 factorial, everything divided by this one will give you more. Our n here is going to be the number, right? So maybe here should be, of course, here everything here is 9. Is that okay? So everything here is 9. So everything here which we don't know yet. So but if I'm using this thing, that should go 3 factorial, then and so on and so forth, right? So and so on and so forth. So that is this. If you don't want to be confused with these numbers here, that is very simple. If you still have any issues relating to this, make sure that you comment in the comment section below for help. Now here we are given that everything here is equal to 15. All right, so that is what we are giving. So we are told that everything here that is equal to exactly 15. Now what are we going to do in the next line? So is how you are left with how to manipulate everything on the left hand side there, because on the right hand side you don't have any issue. This is just a real number that is equal to 15, right? Now, so those are the only information that's available at our disposal. So all that we are going to do here is that we are going to manipulate this thing here, right? So the square bracket here, we are going to take off the bracket. So by taking off this bracket here, we are going to have the top. We are not doing it to the top as at now. So here we are having what, n plus 1 everything factorial, right? So divided by what, here we are still maintaining that n minus 1 factorial. And then in the square bracket, we are going to have we want to take off every bracket here. So that was the second bracket, of course. So that should be 9 plus 1. And then here, remember, there's a negative here. So the negative affect this one. So you have a negative n. And then here it tends to be positive 1, right? Everything factorial. So everything is equal to 15. Is that okay? Now, so if you cancel out, remember what I said earlier was that this factorial here means that if you have something factorial, if you say, let's say 9 factorial, so what it means here is that is 9 multiplied by 8 multiplied by 7 multiplied by 6 multiplied by what, by 5, and so on and so forth up to what, up to 1, right? So up to the last digit, of course. So if you say here is what, n plus 1, so assuming that this is just any number, you can just assume that this is just any number, of course. So here we are going to have the top here to be what, n plus 1 factorial, which is the first number. Remember that what is happening, look at the trend here. So you can see that this is being reduced by 1, right? So if here is n plus 1, if you are comparing this to this 9 here, this should be what, a plus 1, right? So a plus 1, just for understanding purpose. So 8 plus 1 factorial, and then multiply by the second one is what, is the n, right? So the 8 here. So if you compare this n here will be multiplied by n, all right? So multiply by n. So our n here, and then followed by what? What happens to the next one? So here, of course, this should be what, n minus what, minus 1. So our n here is equivalent to the 8, right? So here should give us what, n minus 1. Have you seen the trend? So n minus 1, and so on and so forth. Is that okay? So and so on and so forth. So since it continues, so we can maintain what, the factorial output at this point, right? If you wish to continue, you can continue out at this point, right? So everything here is out. So I just brought these numbers to a verification purpose. Okay, so that is for the top one, right? If you are not okay, you may comment in the comment section below for help, right? So here should be what, everything down here we are going to have n what, minus 1 factorial, right? So n minus 1 factorial. Here you can see that this n will cancel this n because we are having n minus n if you group them, right? So n minus 1 will go away, so we are going to left with 2 factorial. So everything multiplied by 2 factorial, the factorial outside here. Okay, now remember everything is being equal to 15, right? Okay, now if you want to change it, rearrange this, you may rearrange it, or maybe under normal circumstances, you can see clearly that the top and the down will cancel out, right? So the top and the down, what I mean by they will cancel out is that you can see the same person at the down here, the same person at the top here, just like saying 2 divided by 2, that should be equal to 1, so they will cancel out, right? So you are seeing the same thing here, so n minus 1 factorial, and then we have n minus 1 factorial, so this one and this guy are going away, right? So from here, if you use the red pen to write everything, so you are going to have here shouldn't be a factorial, right? So at the beginning here shouldn't be a factorial, so point of correction there. So n plus 1, right? So n plus 1, and then multiply by n, and then everything divided by 2 factorial, right? So that is all very simple and straightforward. So everything is equal to 15. Right, so 2 factorial here, this is just what a real figure, right? So this is just a real figure, so 2 factorial, as I said earlier on, that should be equal to 2 multiplied by what, the next number, which is what, 1, so that should be equal to 2, right? So here, if you're having to, you do the cross or multiply, so if you do the cross multiply, you're going to have n plus 1, so multiply everywhere by 2 factorial, right? So you multiply here by 2 factorial, multiply here by what, 2 factorial, so n plus 1 here, everything by n, then this one will cancel out, right? So this and this will cancel out. So you are going to have 2 factorial is just like a 2. So 2 multiplied by that should be 30, right? So 30 here, right? So as at this point, the other we are going to take off the bracket by expanding. You multiply through, right? So the n will multiply the n, that will give us n squared, and then this one multiplied by that should be a plus or plus n. Everything is equal to 30. So if you rearrange this, remember where we are heading towards to. So that should be n squared and then plus n minus what? Take what? Minus 30 from both sides of the equation. That should be equal to 0. So here we are having what we call what? A quadratic, right? So a quadratic. This is exactly where we are heading towards to. So you must know how to solve this quadratic equation. So by solving this quadratic equation, your answer should be. So yeah, there are so many ways of solving what a quadratic equation, right? So one method that I apply here is what a factorization. If you don't know how to solve this, then make sure that you comment down below. Subscribe to the channel and check our playlist on this thing. So here you have to solve each bracket separately. So you have n minus 5, that should be equal to 0. This means that n is equal to 5, and then the next one is n plus 6, that is equal to mean that n is equal to negative 6. Remember what the question says. The question says that you should find the value of n. So the key here is that our n here can never be what, negative. Are you getting the point? So make sure that you comment down with the reason why we are saying that our n can never be negative. The n here can never be negative. Is that okay? Our n can never be negative. So finally, we have that the value of n here is equal to 5. This is exactly the value of n that the question is demanding from us to find. So thanks for watching this video.